This is Olivia at Manhattan.
Hello?
Yes.
Olivia, this is Thomas Hudson. Okay, I found out that evidently when you talk to the housing authority, about our agreement, that lady is new, and it wouldn't mention that I was HUD bash, and they have different rules, and Sarah Bennett from the VA, the caseworker, and she had went and got what they call a move out or something like that, because I had told her that about our agreement, about the 1 month and leave, and so she was getting a walkout, and she said that that was incorrect, because it should have been mentioned HUD bash. And so,
what's HUD bash?
HUD bash, see, the VA, it's all HUD, Section 8, except veterans have to go through the VA, and VA provides the case management. And for instance, like HUD bash, veterans got priority of getting a voucher over civilians. And there's some other rules and all that kind of stuff. So the bash part is the VA part, but it's all HUD. When a veteran goes in and applies for housing, they have to go through the VA first, and then they walk you through. They even take you to the housing authority every step of the way, help you find a place, stuff like that, and then they follow up with, like I don't have anybody from the housing authority comes visit me, because the VA provides the case management.
Right. Well, the housing authority doesn't usually visit anybody. They just do everything at their office.
Well, yeah, but they're supposed to have someone that comes. They're supposed to go once a month just to make sure the person, is paying their bills, not tearing up a place and all that kind of stuff.
Really? I've been with housing for a long time in here and Kansas, and they never, ever done that.
I cannot attest to Muskogee. They do things different.
Well, but neither Kansas, though, or Missouri, or California,
I'm going to set up on a couple friends, but the VA does. They come out once a month.
Well, yeah, the VA probably does, but not the Section 8. They just send the inspector, out to do the inspection, make sure everything's up to code, and then they just do everything by computer, paperwork and stuff, and you're on your own after that. Now the manager will get a hold of them if something goes wrong, and the reason, I knew that I'm supposed to get a hold of them, but it didn't dawn on me that I needed to let them know before I made the arrangement with you. So when I talked to my compliance officer, she said, make sure that, I said, you're right, I need to make sure. I shouldn't have said anything to Thomas until because, then you and I had already talked, and she and I had already talked, and she said, before you do anything, and I said, well, I had already told him, so I guess I'm going to have to hold on. That's why I told you then right after that, I need to talk to Section 8 first, because they need to know, because you're their tenant as well. So that's
since you approached me and made that agreement, and I accepted, and then since there's a real glitch as far as this housing authority and all that, is there any way and I'll undo anything I've started or won't do, and then undo this eviction thing, and then I'll be gone in a couple weeks.
The thing is that I already paid for it, Thomas, because that's what I was instructed to do. Why don't you come to my office and we'll talk a little further about it, because I'm going to be gone here probably all day, and tomorrow too I have to go market. So
Well, so let me just say this. Whatever you can do to undo that, I'm willing, because I'm supposed to be, should have already filed this thing about a restraining order against your husband, and the paperwork for a district court case and all that. I don't want it. I really don't want. I got too many other things to deal with, and so I'm trying to work something out, and it's not my fault. Like, for instance, this thing about, if you go to a eviction thing, all I have to do is bring up that we already had agreement, and that's what the...
Right, but then I will explain, what had happened, I had not gotten a hold of Section 8, and even if I was to do it, I couldn't do it without them.
Well,
I couldn't honor that agreement on my own without Section 8. Now, if you weren't one of their tenants, yeah, it would be different. But because you're with them, Becky is the one that told me he cannot break his agreement.
She's new in that position.
No, Becky is not. She's been there for more than 2 years.
In that position, she took Melissa.
Oh, the position she took. Right. Oh, I don't know.
But when you approached me and made me that offer, and I accepted, and for 2 days, in good faith, I thought that we had a deal, that and all that kind of stuff, and it's not my fault that someone got misinformation as far as being able to get out of the lease or not, because that program is for civilians, not the veterans.
Even if it is misinformation, Thomas, I couldn't do anything without them. I wouldn't be able to do it.
I know all you have to do is call them up, or I can have them to call you and say, we didn't know that it was her dash. Yes, you can let him out of this lease.
I don't know. I have to take it to my corporate.
From a monetary standpoint, and I'm trying to actually help out. From a monetary standpoint, it behooves this company or whoever to eat the cost of this eviction, because instead of telling me first, and matter of fact, when you put that note on the door, Sarah from the VA was in my apartment. And
what does that have to do with anything?
Because she's the caseworker that works with nothing but HUD bash.
I know, but what does her being there have anything to do with when I put it there?
Well, if I knew, she knew it then, and she checked on it, and no one told this Becky about me being HUD bash, and that makes a big difference.
Well, why don't you go talk to them and see what she says?
I've done that.
You talked to Becky?
I have tried to call her. I was at the housing authority the other day. She was out, and I've talked to Sarah, who has talked to her. And but the thing about it, regardless, when you made that offer, you made an offer as the management of that.
I didn't make the offer. You made it. You made the request, and I agreed. But I didn't make the offer. You made the offer on your letter, Thomas. You made that offer. I didn't make the offer. You keep saying that I made the offer. No,
what I'm talking about is when I put it in writing about the 2 months and $100, and then as I was going up the elevator,
it says 1 month.
I put
and 100.
I put 2 months, I think. But anyway, so I'm talking about when you saw me and you called me and I got out of the elevator and you said tomorrow is when we're starting the eviction and I'll make you this offer, 1 month and let you out of your lease.
It was in response to yours, and I have it right here. It says, number 1, this month free, $100 cash this month, which is June.
Right.
July. So it's a 1 month, but it was in response to yours. In other words, I didn't approach you and say, you know what, Thomas, we're willing to give you this and this and this. This was in response to your letter.
Did you not call me when I was trying to go up the elevator? Did you not?
I did, but it was in response to your letter. It was Monday because you had
so
mentioned
you
on
made
Sunday.
it's known in law as a counteroffer. You offered to give me 1 month and let me out of the lease, no money, and I accepted. And then you said,
"Oh yes, no."
And then you said something about, and I had to go somewhere real quick to meet someone. You said about you'll put it in writing.
Right, and then that's when my compliance officer and I spoke, and she said you have to let Section 8 know.
All right, I would suggest wholeheartedly that you check with them, and as I said, I'm willing to drop anything else connected with this, because regardless of what this costs to file that, like for instance, if you file for restraining order, protective order, that's $194. And
Actually,
that's
Miss, there is nothing against my husband. He didn't do anything to you. But
he certainly did.
As far as that's concerned, you can go ahead with that. That doesn't matter to me. You can go ahead and do it.
Well, what I'm just trying to say is I could save some stuff, and he certainly did. There was someone in my apartment, and when I told him when he stepped out, I thought he was going to talk about the issues we had. And so if you want to play that, I'm just saying, why don't we resolve this?
You're the one that made that threat. I don't want to play anything. You're the one
that... I
that...
make threats. It's called in law, it's called recourse of action. Meaning, just like you got a course of action. But I'm going to maintain, if y'all want to go to court, to the judge, that we had an agreement, and so I was not, number one, I was not behind on my rent, because we did have agreement, and oral agreements are acceptable.
Behind on your rent before this happened. You came to me with all of your rent was...
But once you made that offer, and the oral
Thomas, you sent me the letter, and I have the letter here. I didn't make you that offer. It was in response to your